I saw so much speculation on Twitter about what was going on in this small town called East Palestine. It looks like the word Palestine, but apparently they pronounce it Palestine. It's right on the border between Ohio and Pennsylvania. And what I saw felt slightly conspiratorial. There were some shocking images of smoke and explosions and things like that. And I thought, you know what? Everyone on Twitter is guessing, but our world headquarters in Toronto is not too far away from Ohio and Pennsylvania. If you know your map, you'll realize it's only about a 5-hour drive. So two of our more adventurous souls, Efrain Monsanto and Lincoln J., got in a car and drove there to see what the facts were on the ground rather than just speculating on Twitter. Although speculating on Twitter, I can tell you from personal experience, is a lot of fun. Without further ado, let's go straight to our friend Lincoln J., who is live from East Palestine, Ohio. Lincoln, great to see you. Am I pronouncing that right? They call it Palestine?
Yep, you're bang on with the pronunciation.
All right. It's just, I've never heard of it. It's a small town of 5,000 people. I guess there's no reason I would have heard of it. It took you 5 hours to get down there. First question, were there any barriers to getting into this town? I know earlier they had an evacuation. They were barring people from getting in. Were you able to get into the town without any problems?
Yep. So we arrived here late last night, and we were expecting to see some form of, I'm not sure, checkpoints or whatever the case might have been, but nothing. We were able to drive right into the town, and we've been driving around the town all day. As you can see, there's cars driving behind me. The town, or the village, it's actually called, is pretty well open, but the road is blocked leading up to where the train derailment happened, the general area where the train derailment happened, because it's a bit of a stretch where it actually took place. And what we're finding from being on the ground is that residents are definitely scared. The town, if you just walk around, you're not paying attention to the news, and you're just strolling around the streets, you wouldn't think that anything happened here. But then you start to pay a bit more close attention, and you can see that something did happen here, because around the town, there's a creek, there's different streams, ponds that run through East Palestine, and there is some sort of water treatment going on throughout the town, and we're trying to figure out exactly what it is, but they just won't talk to us, and they're not very transparent on exactly what is happening.
Huh. And there's a giant truck passing behind you. Now, I don't know the nature of that truck. It could be to remediate the spill, or it could be just an industrial truck. I'm not an expert in these things, and that's one of the reasons why we sent you there, because so many armchair experts on Twitter were saying dramatic things. Let me ask you a question that only you would know by being there. Can you smell anything in the air? I know sometimes you're near a fire, you can smell the burning of, you're near a forest fire, you can smell it. Is there anything in the air that you can smell?
It's hard because your mind kind of plays tricks on you when you're in these types of situations. The placebo effect starts to kick in. But Efron and I, we haven't really noticed anything. We've only been here for a day, so far so good. Some of the residents, though, that we have been talking to, one of them has a small child, and apparently the child has been getting rashes. We've seen reports online about dogs becoming ill, but we just interviewed a resident here, brought us inside his house, showed us around, and his dogs seem to be doing just fine. So it's hard to gauge what exactly is happening down here. That's why we're down here, to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine if you're extremely worried, which you would be if there was a derailment, an explosion, and a fire, and an evacuation. Who wouldn't be worried? You'd have to have superhuman confidence and a constitution not to be worried. And then, like you say, you're hypersensitive to anything. I mean, kids get rashes, dogs have tummy trouble. I mean, it's just it. But if it happens to coincide with this event, human nature would make us think it's because of this. Now, look, I'm not prejudging, but there was a whole lot of prejudging going on Twitter. And I thought, well, let's go there. And you've already told me a few things that no, the town is not blocked off. Yes, the spill site is, but the town would feel normal if you didn't know what's going on. They are remediating the water. You say some people are concerned that the town is not being transparent enough. Now, that is a concern, but then again, that is a standard critique of government. Have you spoken to anyone who I might call an official whether it's like a town councilor or even a senior person who might have some inside knowledge, a fireman. I bet the fire department was deployed on this pretty quick. Maybe a doctor or a nurse. Is there anyone who's actually been involved with the evacuation, the cleanup, anything like that? Have you talked to anyone other than, I mean, it's useful to talk to ordinary men and women on the street. Have you talked to anyone who you might call sort of an official?
So no one we haven't spoke to anyone as far as government or any official like that, but people that we have spoken to so far off camera are people that are actually cleaning up the site. We ran into an individual who was in a full hazmat suit inside a McDonald's, and we approached them and just tried to speak to them, see if they would come on camera. But they told us that they simply cannot. They actually tried to call their boss to see if they could speak to us. They wanted to speak to us, but they couldn't. They're being told not to talk to us. We've tried to talk to multiple of these workers that are treating the water. I'm not sure the exact name of the workers, but we've tried to speak to multiple of them. And they're basically all telling us the same thing, that they've been told not to speak about it. And they're just simply not commenting. But some of them, you can tell that they do want the story out. One guy made a comment to us saying, "Sorry, we can't talk to you, but please get the story out." So like I said earlier, we've been talking to residents, and from walking around, it doesn't seem like anything's wrong. But when you talk to locals, when you talk to the residents here in East Palestine, you can tell that they feel something is wrong. And a lot of them, they're just coming in just for supplies and then they're leaving. But at the same time, a lot of them are just strolling around, schools in session. So it's really hard to gauge what exactly is happening and if there's any real potential health hazards here.
Yeah, now obviously you don't want to get any of those cleanup workers in trouble. I suppose you could try and interview someone by not showing their face, or you could even just say, "Look, I'm going to leave the camera over there. Can I just talk to you privately, heart to heart? Tell me what," like that one fellow who said, "I can't talk to you, but you've got to get the story out." Okay, well, what is the story you want me to get out, brother? I mean, in a way, that's sort of a teaser saying you've got to get the story out. I just can't tell it to you, but find it. Well, that's a frustrating thing. I mean, and who knows? Maybe they're having a little bit of fun with you, or maybe there really is something. I don't know, but it's interesting that they're all told not to say anything. It sounds like that's got to be the rule if every single one of them is saying that to you. I wonder if any of them would feel comfortable just off the record, no cameras rolling, just talking to you one-on-one, not being recorded in any way. They could, like, what exactly are they worried about? Are they worried that they're not following standard procedure? Are they worried that there's some chemical there that they haven't disclosed? Are they worried that, I don't know. I'm curious. It's very interesting what you've just said. I think you should spend at least another day there poking around. Don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. What should be interesting, and maybe we'll be able to talk to some officials here, is tomorrow night there is a town hall meeting. And now originally the town hall meeting was supposed to take place in one of the buildings right on the main strip of town, or the village, I should say. And they've actually had to relocate it to the high school gymnasium because supposedly, this is just what we're hearing, supposedly there's thousands of people who want to show up to this town hall meeting. I don't know if that's going to be the case. We're going to find out tomorrow because we will be on scene. But it should be interesting to hear what the residents have to say in more of a formal setting rather than just talking to us one-on-one. But we've been able to get some good stuff here, and I think our viewers are really going to like to see the firsthand perspective of what's truly going on here just from walking around.
Well, I really appreciate that. Make sure you get a good seat in the town hall. Maybe you can get someone to save it for you, because I think people coming into that town hall, I bet you everyone has a point of view. It'll be interesting to see if going into the town hall, they have one point of view, and then will it be changed? You might even be able to ask the same person going in and coming out, were your fears mollified? Did they answer your questions? Do you feel there was accountability and transparency? That sounds very exciting that they've got that town hall. You've got a lot of work to do. There's the two of you. I know you'll do a great job. I'm delighted you're down there. Thanks for doing this. For folks who want to chip in, so are you guys staying in the actual town? Were you able to find a motel in the village?
Well, it's important to note that this is really small town America here. I believe the population is around 4,700 people in this village. It's very rural. You can basically drive around the whole village, and 5 minutes, if not less. So we're staying outside in North Lima, I believe it's called. It's about a 20 minutes outside of town. So we drive in the morning and basically set up for the day and see what we can find. But like I said, it's a really, really small population of people here. A lot of the people truly feel like they're not being told everything. And some of them feel like the train company just wants the trains to keep on rolling. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Last question for you. Are there other journalists on the ground?
We've seen some independent journalists, but as far as mainstream media, we haven't seen too much, if all. The only mainstream media journalist that we've seen on the ground here is a local, I believe it's Fox Cleveland. Other than that, not much. It's basically just us and a few other journalists. And like I said, it's really, really small here. So you run into people. You're not really missing anybody. So, yeah.
I was looking on the map. It's only an hour away from Pittsburgh, which is a pretty big city. And Akron, it's not like it's rural. And in that sense, I suppose it's quote remote, but it's actually, an hour's drive from a lot of high population centers with big media. I wonder if they'll show up at tomorrow's town hall. I'm glad you'll be there. Maybe you'll get the scoop. Listen, congrats on it. Give my best hello to Efron, your colleague. And for folks who want the latest, we've set up a special website at ohioexplosion.com. And that's where all the videos will be put. And I'm guessing between the gas to drive down there, the hotel, the meals, stuff like that, I think it's going to cost about $1,500 or $2,000 to have the two of you, mainly gasoline. To drive all the way down there and then 2 or 3 nights. So if folks want to chip in, they can go to ohioexplosion.com. I feel like you guys are going down there as a kind of fact checker because we don't have an agenda other than what's really going on. I don't think we're going to get the answer by reading tweets written by people in New York and LA. I think the only way to find out is what's going on the ground. Last word to you, Lincoln.
Yep, that's exactly. I completely agree. In order to actually gauge what is happening here, in order to actually feel what the vibe is like on the ground, you actually have to be on the ground. And the people have been very receptive to us. People want to talk. It seems that people want to get the story out, and people are happy that we're here. Like the gentleman we just interviewed couldn't thank us enough for being on the ground and basically giving him a voice. So we're happy to be here, and we're happy to have all the support from the viewers.
That was an excerpt from the Ezra Levant show. I'm Ezra Levant. Every weekday, I do a monologue about the topic of the day. Then I interview a fascinating guest either in studio or via Skype. And then I read your mail, whether it's fan mail or hate mail, which is sometimes even more interesting. This is on our premium service, though, called Rebel News Plus. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. It's $8 a month or less if you buy a whole year in advance. You get my show every weeknight, plus Sheila Gunn Reid's show every week. It's called The Gun Show. It's pretty amazing. We rely on you because we do not take a dime from the government. In Canada, that makes us almost unique. So please help us out and help yourself to some great journalism at rebelnewsplus.com.